Hey y'all, it's Alex and welcome back to my channel. Over here is day 30. You can catch that in the top right corner. See what I did there? Today is the last day of Inktober, and the ink for today is yellow medium azo, which in the bottle looks like a pretty good yellow, but when I lay it down later, you'll see that it kind of changes up a little bit, but that's kind of besides the point for right now. For the thumbnail for today, I originally planned on doing a picture of a large jack-o'-lantern with all of the animal companions from the entirety of the series, but when I was looking at it last night, I just wasn't happy with it, so I decided to spend a little bit of time sketching some more, and I decided that I would have the Queen of Halloween residing over her patch of jack-o'-lanterns, or at least getting her patch of jack-o'-lanterns ready for the evening. I also considered going towards an elf look since I started with an elf, but since I did an elf yesterday, I decided that I wanted to take it a different fantasy race, one that I don't think gets nearly enough love. And I decided that I was going to make the final character in this Inktober series an orc. Now, for her fashion, I was really inspired by, I've been looking up more gothic fashion recently. I've been wanting to get more into dressing up and actually making myself look more presentable than a high school boy for a while. But I think to kind of give myself that final push, I'm going to be starting a vlog channel. I'll put the channel up in the top corner. I don't really have anything up or filmed yet, but that's something that's going to be coming within the next couple of months, I hope. While I was working on this character, I honestly still don't have a name for her. If you guys have a good name suggestion, I kind of want a fantasy name. So if you have any good suggestions, go ahead and leave a comment down below. While I was working on her, I wanted to make sure that her pose was symmetrical. I tried raising one hand above the other and it just didn't feel right. And also, I wanted her to be a little bit more spooky, so she just has one whole skeleton arm. We'll just call that a battle scar. And she has a few pumpkins floating around her, and by a few, I mean there are 31 pumpkins around her by the end. You have no idea how many times I had to go back and recount how many pumpkins there were. I don't even remember how many times I counted, I just know it was more than twice. So, one fashion. So, unfortunately, I will not be posting a video of me carving my pumpkin. I tried to film, but it just was so awkward since the only place that we were able to really set up was on the floor in our living room. There just really wasn't a good way for me to set up my tripod arm, which isn't really a tripod, so. Instead, you guys will be able to see what I actually carved as my pumpkin in the top section of the image. I'll put a video clip over here of what my actual pumpkin ended up being. And then for the rest of the pumpkins, I just kind of did random ones and selected elements that I liked from other Inktober's, like the pumpkin down in the bottom corner with the bats in the cave. I really liked the hanging bats that I did yesterday, so I decided to steal that. The pumpkin that is to the bottom right of the pumpkin that I carved this year is a design called Scaredy Bat. I carved that design for 13 years in a row. So that one is very near and dear to my heart. And then for some of the others I was kind of struggling. There's one that I just kind of put a scream face on and the little itty bitty tiny face next to this character's right hand side, our left. Out of all of the pumpkins, which I unfortunately didn't carve them all because some of them were just way too small and I didn't want to clutter up the image too much by having 31 pumpkins front and center. Of all of these pumpkins, which one's your favorite? Well, the pumpkin that I carved this year is pretty good, and Scaredy Bat is always near and dear to my heart. I think I gotta say the pumpkin inside of the pumpkin with the tent carving is pretty cute. I might have to try that next year. For her fashion, I kind of took some inspiration from a few Pinterest posts and definitely not my Christmas list. What are you talking about? Never. I've always wanted to have kind of like a cape that was just connected to some epaulets with these big spikes and beads hanging down from them. So I decided to see how that would look in reality. we are at the end of Inktober, how was your guys' Octobers? Did you complete Inktober if you were doing it? If you didn't, I mean, you still did art for at least a day in October, so I mean, that's more than enough to be proud of. Of your Inktobers, what was your favorite day? Of my Inktober, what was your favorite day? I will be doing kind of like a post-Inktober review, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be posting that tomorrow because I don't actually have time to film that. I'm going to be taking a small mental break from Inktober before I come back and give you some of my thoughts afterwards. I hope you guys will still continue to join me. From here on, I will be posting one day a week, and that day is most likely Wednesdays or Thursdays. I tried Mondays, and Mondays did not work. You guys, I forgot to press record. Of course, on the spookiest day of the year, I start getting sloppy. So this yellow, I much prefer it when it's watered down like I used for the initial magics around her hands. When I went in with it in full pigmentation, I don't want to say, like, when I went in with it not diluted, it was, I don't know if it's just too bright. I don't know, this color is weird. Later on, when I decide that I don't like her jacket color to be gray because it's too close in tone to her skin, I go over it with some yellow. And when I actually laid down the ink initially, I swore it looked like a highlighter yellow. It was absolutely bizarre. I honestly don't know why I even bought this ink. It might have come in a set, but it's definitely not my first choice of inks. I tend to go for more of like a yellow ochre shade, which is so sad because the yellow ochre ink that I own is from the Bombay India inks, and I'm not 100% happy with them. I kind of wish I would have mixed in the yellow with a little bit of the ink wash. However, that ran the chance of the mixture turning more of like a weird green yellow instead of me laying down a gray and then kind of tinting it yellow later. I also go over the beads for the epaulets at least 3 times with ink, so I probably should have just waited on that area. As I was filling in all of the lights for the pumpkins, I realized that this brush that I'm using is way too big. And luckily, I just bought these brushes. I have a set of brushes to paint my new hobby of painting Dungeons and Dragons miniatures, and I swear to God, this would have saved me so much trouble through this entire Inktober. Because I usually, like on this pumpkin, I go in and I just kind of like rush through, and I'm like, yeah, the brush is the right size, don't worry about it. However, the brush is way too big, and I don't see that until after I finish the section, and it looks sloppy. And that pumpkin is probably the one that looks the best, because I actually was careful with it. Who'da thunk it? I also decided that the plain white background was a little bit plain, So I went in and added like little spheres of magic around all of the pumpkins and made her eyes yellow. And with that, we're actually done with Inktober of 2019. I am absolutely flabbergasted that I managed to post a video every single day for Inktober. It was a lot of pain, a lot of time, and a lot of struggle, but it's done. This is my second Inktober under the belt, and I hope that I'm able to do next year's as well. Here's to a happy Inktober and a happy Halloween to everyone, and here's to many more Inktobers in the future. If you feel so inclined, hit that subscribe button and check me out on my other social media handles. Thanks, and I'll see y'all in the next one.